And away we go. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us online tonight. Okay, hope your travels home or still at work. I hope your travels have been good for you today. Since we're online, and I don't really get the ability to get feedback from you guys in some type of a visual way, wouldn't mind if you said hi to me in the chat area there. And then at least I'd know that my volume is working, my microphone is working, and you guys can actually hear me. So I really appreciate that. Thank you guys. Love it. Hey, we all know with the chapter here that you have a choice as to where you spend your third Wednesday of the month. And we're really appreciative that you've made the choice to be with us today. We are here to help you get from where you are to where you want to be in your professional career. And we've had a big team working on a great program for you. That program is brought to you this event by Progio. Progio is our corporate sponsor for the month. I'd like to thank them. They're the adaptive project portfolio management solution, and you can get more information by visiting them at www.progio.com. Now, I did mention that to bring an event like this, even online, takes a number of people. And I'd like to express appreciation to all these people who played some part, had a part to play in the creation, the setup, the planning, the execution of this event. So, guys, if your names are up there, thank you so much for what you did for this program and what you do for the chapter as well. Really appreciate that. We do want to recognize also special chapter members here, like new ones, a slew of new chapter members here as of the beginning of November. If your name is there, drop a note in the chat and introduce yourself and say, "Hi, everybody. I'm here and I'm new to the chapter. Congratulations on joining the chapter here." If you're new to the chapter and your name's not up here, we'd like to hear from you in chat as well. But congratulations to all the new chapter members. And I have something special to say to you guys here a little bit later in the announcements. We also, of course, have great recognition to those that are newly certified. 10 that are here let me get this, 12 that are newly certified. PMPs for 11 of them. And then Sarah here with a CAPM. So congratulations on your achievements, guys. Way to go. We also have people that are serving that have anniversaries that are coming up. So of note, at the 20-year mark, Jody and James, way to go, guys, to come in there at 20. Lisa comes in there at 5 years, and a number of people then the 12 and 15, the 10 and 15-year mark, celebrating their anniversaries with this PMI chapter. So congratulations, guys, on that as well. We do have a kind of a special event coming up that we want to make you all aware of, and I have a special blurb for this. MSP Planning and Copilot 65 event. Join the PMI Dallas chapter for an exclusive event featuring a dynamic show and tell session that will be led by 2 Microsoft MVPs. Discover the power of MS Planning and Copilot 365 in this interactive 1.5-hour session designed specifically for project management professionals. So experience firsthand how these tools can revolutionize your project management processes. You can get more information at our PMI website and register there as well. So you can see those notations there. All righty, got a couple of other half dozen announcements here to cover with you very briefly, some of which you'll know. So sponsor packages like Progio took advantage of for this particular meeting, well, they're live and available on pmicic.org. Okay, so in case you know a firm or have a business that you'd like to sponsor some of these events, able to do so. Hiring managers, you can submit a free job listing if you're looking for some really top-notch project management quality, high-quality people. You can submit a free job listing at that pmicic.org, the chapter website as well. That's a feature that's there. We've had for a while, year and a half or so. The board meets every first Wednesday of the month, starting at 6:30. Board meetings are open, and the board is always open to potential topics to talk about. So if you had something to bring up to the board, or you think the board needs to take up in their meetings, feel free to stop by the meeting or send a board member a little note regarding that. Next time down here is new members. I said I had something for you later in the program. If you're a new member, you want to make certain you go back to your membership information and make certain auto renew is set up so that a year doesn't go by here and then you realize later in November or December your membership had lapsed and you really need something from the PMI site. Don't lose your benefits. Auto renew. Okay, next item here is just inviting everyone to remember to connect with PMI CIC. That's very active in various social sites and YouTubes and Facebook and X and so forth, and LinkedIn. So please do that and join the fun online socially. And there are many ways to get involved with PMI CIC. So if you're interested, there are a lot of people that are already volunteering for the chapter. You saw some long lists of those people, and your name could be up there too. And perhaps you can have some more fun by submitting ideas, doing things as a member on the various committees, and volunteer. And in fact, you'll hear more about some opportunities when we get to the board word from the board feature a little bit later. Oh, it's not a little bit later. It's coming up right now. So let me now take a moment to introduce to you the board member that is currently going to host the Word from the Board segment here, Roseanne Bateman, Vice President of Finance. Roseanne, all yours.
Hi, everyone. So the word from the board this month is we just completed elections. And so the results are the president-elect is Kelly Sandstrom, and her term runs through December 31st of 2026. And VP of Communications is Elizabeth Alvarez, and she also runs through 12/31/26. Elizabeth is part of the chapter from the Evansville area that has been incorporated into our PMI CIC chapter. And so, as a result of having a good board, then we went ahead and did some board appointments. So, these are for positions that are in our bylaws that we did not have anybody in those positions. So, the board made a decision to appoint people. So, for EVP, it's Christopher Wilson, and his term is through 12/31/26. The VP of Membership is Adrienne Roman, and her term will go through 12/31/2025. That's because she is finishing out a term. And so then her position will come up for election next year. Then the VP of Professional Development is John Fitzpatrick, and his too will expire on 12/31/25. So we have a full board for the first time. So yay for us. We're really happy about that. For next, on November 11th, which was Veterans Day, Greg Brzezinski, who is our Director of Military Outreach, and I hosted a meetup in Bloomington. And we invited the transitioning military members and project managers who are on our membership list that live within approximately an hour from Bloomington. And what we learned in that meeting was they would like to set up a central meeting place in the Bloomington area so that they can view monthly meetings without having to come all the way to Indianapolis. And they would welcome a town hall meeting. We're thinking as a board of doing those so that we can meet with the members in those particular areas and kind of find out what all they want. And just like we did a career development event in Indianapolis, they would like one done in Bloomington as well. So these are just some of the things that we're considering for this next year. A big win for our chapter. We got approved by PMI Global to have a chapter student club. So this student club is at the Purdue West Lafayette location, and they have about 100 students. And so that's a huge win for us as we try to bring in younger people to help us reach other students in the universities. We're looking at partnering with a couple other universities as well. And it's a big win because we are one of about 6 chapters in the US now that have a student club, and that's it. And even in globally, there's only like 35. So it's very new to have student clubs. So we're really happy to pursue this option. Okay, so no meeting in December, but like Rich said, there is that special virtual webinar on December 2nd at 7 p.m. So the registration is open on our website. And let's see, I guess lastly, wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday season. This is going to be our last program for 2024. We are wanting to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. That all happens before our January 2025 meeting. That meeting is going to be held at Brooks Source, and that's in Indianapolis. But we will be giving a state of the chapter as well as financial position what we've done in 2024 so that it kind of gives you an idea of what our board has done over the past year. And I think that is it for me. And I think we're ready now to go back to Rich.
Thank you very much, Roseanne. Appreciate that. All that news from the board. Thank you so much. All righty, gang. It's now getting close that time. You know, you're at home, you're comfortable, you can grab the food that you want. Okay, be ready for a great program today. We have a wonderful guest. First, let's cover these disclaimer items. Of course, PMI membership has determined that honesty, responsibility, respect, and fairness are the values that drive ethical conduct for our profession. As such, know that all work presented herein is the intellectual property of the presenters, and therefore views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by such speakers belong solely to those speakers, not necessarily those to PMI or PMI CIC. And also note that unauthorized reproduction or distribution of a copyrighted work is illegal and punishable in federal law. However, our speaker today has decided she's willing to share today's presentation content with you, so you could have access to that. And now we got through all of that. Let's get to the main point, why we're all here, and let's get introduced to our special guest speaker. Amber Chandler is a senior program agilist and transformation coach with over 15 years of experience leading agile, lean, and project management initiatives. As the founder of SOP Evolution, Amber has coached aspiring professionals through real-world simulations, preparing them for high-demand roles in project management and agile leadership. She also spearheaded an agile community of practice, bringing together over 600 members to foster continuous learning and professional growth. Amber holds certifications including PMP, PMOCP, SPC, and others. With a diverse background spanning IT, finance, energy, pharmaceuticals, Amber is known for her ability to lead teams through transformation, solve complex challenges, and drive sustainable improvements. Her commitment to empowering teams and her hands-on leadership approach make her a trusted advisor. And we are simply delighted to have her here as our special guest speaker tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, say some hello in the chat there to our special guest speaker, Amber Chandler. And there she is, Amber Chandler. All set, Amber?
Well, good evening, Rich. I think I'll have you follow me around with that introduction.
We're recording this, Amber, in case you want to use it in the future.
All right.
Take care. I'll see you in a little bit.
All right. Thank you, Rich. Okay. All right. So welcome and thank you for joining us on tonight. We are going to be discussing indispensable leadership and ultimately thriving through change. All right. Okay. So first thing, quick huddle. I'm known for a quick huddle. All right. Tonight's working agreement. It's very simple. This is a interactive talk back discussion. Okay. Surprisingly, you guys know me for doing trainings. Tonight, it's not a training. Tonight, it is a conversation meant to evoke thought, meant to challenge you in ways that you've possibly not been challenged before. And we'll get into what that specifically means in the upcoming slides. But I don't want you to be a fly on the wall. I want you to make friends in the chat. Maybe you'll pop something in the chat that someone can relate to. And it'll, you'll find it helpful for someone else as well. Okay. All right, so I want you to take notes. So I don't know if that means get your favorite notebook or do like I do. I love a Google Doc on the side. All right, I take Google with me, Google Docs everywhere I go. All right. My only ask is that you title either that fresh piece of paper or that Google Doc the evolved leader. Okay. So we all have our ideas about what it means to be a leader. But tonight, I want you to take notes on what we present here and title it The Evolved Leader. Okay. Also, we will have time for a few questions during this presentation or during this discussion, this chat. But in the event that we're running low on time, I don't want you to lose your questions. So please jot them down. You can either put them in the chat or put them on your notebook, and we have a formal Q&A at the end. Okay. The hope is that you find some actionable recommendations that you could take and implement immediately. Okay. All right. So that's our working agreement. Rich, I don't even need this slide. You did me justice. But I refer to myself as a enterprise agile transformation consultant, an IT workflow strategist, and a talent developer. As an enterprise agile transformation consultant, I do a lot of gig work, right? So Rich introduced me as a senior program agilist, but in addition to my day job, I do a lot of consulting for other teams that I don't directly bill to. And what I consult on is workflow and strategy. Okay. And then that's kind of like my 9 to 5. And so the talent development piece, that's what I'm doing here tonight with you all. If you know me, you know this is my first love. It shows up in everything that I do. Okay. I do have over 15 years in project management without giving you the exact numbers so you can count my age. And again, I am the founder of SOP Evolution. And simply, I help leaders and teams transform their ways of working to drive high performance, operational efficiency, and project success. And what I'm known for is eliminating imposter syndrome. And if you are a former student of mine or a current student of mine, let me get an amen in the chat if that is true for you. All right. So I do have some notes on the side, but don't you be worried with that, okay? It's just to help me to stay focused, all right? So that's enough about me. I want to learn a little bit about you, okay? So Rich, if I could have you pull up our first question, okay? All right, I want to hear about it. Okay. Now, with this particular slide, I don't want you to think too hard. I want you to be honest and less aspirational. I want you to be honest. Okay. Which one do you resonate with? And for those who are listening in versus being able to see the screen, I'm wondering if I need to read these. Okay. The first one says, I consistently fail to meet expectations and require significant improvement. Or I occasionally meet expectations, but lack consistency and require development. I meet expectations and fulfill job requirements satisfactorily. I regularly exceed expectations in several areas of my role. I consistently exceed expectations across most aspects of my role and contribute significantly to team or company goals. And the last one, I go beyond simply managing tasks, leveraging my influence to elevate the team, their performance, and drive innovation. I ensure I am recognized as vital to both day-to-day operations and strategic growth. Okay. So we'll count it down. 3, 2, 1. All right.
Oh, that pushed us over the 50% mark. So 54% participating, and we'll go ahead and oh, I think the results are being shared. We stopped. We're ready to share the results. So I think the audience can see the results.
All right.
Amber?
Okay, great. Well, thank you for your honesty. So, this is not to call you out. This is just kind of to give you a baseline and framing for today's conversation. Okay. So, if you are at the I regularly exceed expectations or below, we have some work to do. There's some opportunity there. So, in this discussion, my hope is that these principles shared with you today will help to reframe how you approach your role and your professionalism and move you to aspire to be at least two levels higher. Okay? If you are already consistently exceeding expectations or going beyond, which is that last question there, I challenge you to now find a mentee for 2025 because somebody needs what you have. Okay. So if you're aligned with that recommendation, I need you to type deal in the chat.
Bang.
All right. Awesome. All right. We've got some alignment. See, we're already moving as a team. Awesome. All right. Rich, next question.
Coming right up. Question 2.
All right. So think of this as a PMI-esque question. All right. The key word is most. I know you want to click all of them,
No, I sure did.
but the key word is most. All right. Which trend worries you the most? Is it AI taking your job, layoffs and rumors of layoffs, or your current skill set becoming outdated?
We're up to 63% and counting here. Even higher participation, so that's good. Okay, you want to call it, Amber?
All right,
Oh,
let's do it.
67. Let's call.
Let's call.
End voting, and we're now sharing the results.
All right. Oh, look
70%.
at
Yeah.
you. That's exciting. I know a lot of people at first were terrified of AI when it first came out. So hopefully if you've been to one of my trainings before, you've learned to partner with AI and use it as a tool versus a app. Okay. All right. So we had a good amount of you feeling like layoffs and rumors of layoffs is a thing. All right. And I'm be honest, all three of these things drive uncertainty, and they are all very much so a thing. All right, Rich, back to the slides. All right. All right. So, what's the big picture? Let's talk about AI. Okay. AI is a real concern. Why? Because it can automate tasks, especially those administrative, repetitive tasks. Okay. I'll be honest, AI can do a lot of things that people who were once seen deemed specialized, it can do their job now. So your, administrative roles, your junior roles, even your analyst roles can be impacted by AI. Okay. So we're thinking big picture. You're not automatically out of a job because of AI, but it's a concern that you'll need to do some adjusting with. Okay. Next point: layoffs. Organizations, they are cutting back on operational roles and restructuring to focus on profitability over growth. What does that mean? They don't have to be the biggest organization. They want to be the most profitable organization, running in a lean manner and still serving their customers better than their competitors. Okay. So layoffs are never personal. Layoffs are strategic decisions made by, organizations. Okay. So you kind of it's the Hunger Games out here. It really is. So you got to fight for your place to stay, because overhead is not as attractive as it once used to be. Okay. Saying that you got X amount of employees, it's not as attractive anymore. Okay. And the other trend that could be concerning is wondering if you have the right skill mix. Okay. It's not enough to just be a good worker that, knows how to do stuff anymore. One of my favorite things to say is, how have you partnered with your organization? Not just come in to do a task, but how have you helped to solve the problems that your manager's manager is thinking about day in and day out? Okay. So nobody is exempt from needing to evolve their skill set. Okay. I don't care how many certifications I have, how many degrees I have, what my SME status is. I have to continue to stay in a growth mindset in order to properly compete in this uncertain job market. Okay. So that might mean I may have to get more advanced certification. I might have to introduce myself to some new business tools that maybe I didn't have to use before. Okay. So the picture I'm trying to paint is that there is a need. Okay. There is a need. And we're going to get to what I believe are the solutions for this need. Okay. But the need is for indispensable leaders who can solve problems effectively. They can identify root causes, facilitate solution delivery, and attempt to prevent recurrence. Okay. Now, I know many of you are project leads, but you'll probably hear me say it several times throughout this conversation. I don't care what your title is. Okay. I was performing a lot of these as a call center coordinator at one point. So I know that these are universal principles. Okay. The need is for indispensable leaders who can anticipate challenges and be part of that strategy crafting that aligns with the goals of the unexpected shifts. Okay. I coach my students to always be early adopters. Okay. If there's something new that enters your working environment, don't be the one that resists the change. I need you to figure out how to be a super user for the solution that's going to be implemented. Okay. All right. We need indispensable leaders who can thrive in uncertainty and guide their teams through it effectively. If you don't have any direct authority, maybe you're not guiding, but you're certainly not the one who's causing things to slow down. Okay. So that'll show up in how you work and how you interact with your peers and your speaking points to your peers. Okay. We need indispensable leaders who can empower others, mentor, and delegate for others' growth. Okay. So it's not always about me, but how can you link arms with your colleagues to make sure that you guys grow together? Okay. I have a VIP student and I meet with her daily. And that's one of the things that I coach her on. She wants to be a director. Okay. What are the types of things that you're going to need to do as you elevate your title? Okay. You're going to have to get practice empowering others. So I need you to start doing that as a project lead. Okay. So there is a need. That was the point of this slide. And our response is tonight's presentation. Okay. So I took about 15 minutes to get through that whole introduction. So I will not rush through this, but I want you to know you have these slides for later. So don't feel slighted if I have to skip something. Okay. All right. So our response to that need is strategic positioning, aligning our professional profiles to increase our job security. Basically, what that's saying is stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Okay. If you are in a role of leadership and you have one way of leading, I want you to be open to being more adaptive so you can respond to the needs of that current environment. Okay. All right. So we'll talk about techniques for leading through uncertainty, regardless of your title. Again. And then point number 3 might be my favorite is high performance mindset. And that's habits and leadership behaviors that make us essential in any business environment. Dare I say any environment, not just business environments. Okay. All right. So if you're ready to get through the rest of this, I need you to type ready in the chat. Ready indicates that your notebook is ready, your fresh piece of paper is ready, your Google Doc, whatever, it's ready. Okay. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to share with you a quick little story, and I do mean quick. So I work for an energy company. Okay. And I'm going to try to make this a very short story. Basically, we had a situation on one of my teams. This was early when I was at the joining this company. And we would go to our product manager so he could review what features we had lined up for the next, program increment, which sometimes it fell to like 8 weeks, sometimes it was 10, sometimes it was 12. And every time we would go to him and say, hey, here are the features that we have lined up for, and here are the releases, we would always get pushback. And he was just very critical of the stuff that the team decided that they were going to build. And I'll be honest, when I first got to this organization, I was like, wait a minute, why is the team deciding what to build? Like, where is the ownership from the product manager? Apparently they didn't do it like that. So I had to adapt. There we go again, that word, adapt. And I'm like, okay. So so this is the process. The team determines what they're going to build, and then they have to take it to the product management group, and they say, yes, this is strong enough to ask for capital funding, or no. Okay. The long of the short of it, he kept rejecting it. He said it just wasn't strong enough. The metrics did not support the building out of these features. Okay. So now here's the problem with that. Now you've got a team who's feeling deflated, just feeling like, oh, all right, well, if he don't want us to do this, what's he want us to do? So they were frustrated. Their confidence was not where it, should have been. They became very risk averse. Psychological safety suffered. And overall, the direction was unclear. Now, mind you, I'm brand new to this team and I'm observing this. And so this is one of the first things I had to tackle when I got there. Okay. So what do? I bring it up during the retro. Okay. I bring it up during the retro. I'm like, this is what I'm observing. Let's talk about this. Okay. So in us solutioning that, we found that it might be good to do a plant tour. Again, I work in energy. So we decided to go visit a power plant so we could get in and see where we could extract the value. Okay. So in a statement, we planned a plant tour to connect the innovators with the customer vision, and specifically hold interviews with the plant operational the OE leads, and also the power plant workers. Okay. So anybody who knows me, I don't just do stuff to do stuff. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And it's going to be good. So I was already familiar with Gemba walks. They said tour, but in my mind, I heard Gemba walk. Let me type it in the chat so you know how to spell it. Gemba. Okay. Look that up on your own time, so you can get the full picture of what a Gemba walk is. And so I was determined not to just show up as an attendee, but I was going to figure out how to, insert and integrate my influence to really turn this plant tour into almost an activation for the team. So ahead of time, I prepared some powerful questions. That's also a key word. Look that up, powerful questions. I'm not calling my questions powerful. Powerful questions are actually a technique of a way to ask questions. So definitely look that up too, okay? And what I did during that tour, we asked questions during the tour, and then we went to a conference room. We sat down, and I was able to dialogue with the operational excellence leads and the supervisors, and really get an understanding of what we needed to do to not only increase their use of our tool, but to help with, what do they really need and the adoption of it. Okay. So let me speed this story up. Okay. All right. Here's what happened. Before the tour and before we set our minds to really understanding what the need was, right? The team was just frustrated. In general, the team was just frustrated. Okay. With my leadership, the team went from feeling scrutinized and unsupported to now supported and motivated to innovate. Okay. All right. We are still talking about strategic positioning. They initially lacked clarity on value delivery and what the metrics were attached to that. Now they were able to focus on adoption, capacity creation, and cost savings. For those of you not familiar with capacity creation, basically that's just like freeing your time up to work on more important things. Okay. Metrics before this were unclear and insufficient to justify continued capital funding. Okay. Afterwards, we identified measurable metrics during our Gemba walk and discovery sessions, reinforcing project value. So basically, we added a step to our intake funnel. So whenever we wanted to build something, before we even took it to our portfolio lead, we already had the metrics that we wanted to identify. We already had them identified and ready to present. Okay. And we built that into our pitch. All right. Before the view was, they were questioning the project feasibility. After, it shifted to collaborators invested in the project's success. The operational leads were before seen as external reviewers and potential role eliminators. What that means is they thought that we were trying to come in and create a tool that eliminated their jobs. But because we took the time to talk to them, we were now seen as partners in shaping scalable and effective solutions, shared ownership of the solution. Okay. Before, the developers were risk averse and hesitant to innovate. Afterwards, they were empowered to take calculated risks and innovate confidently. And the overall impact, there was limited momentum and strategic alignment. Afterwards, the momentum built through trust, collaboration, and measurable success spanned all levels. What does this have to do with strategic positioning? Okay. I could have easily said, this is above my pay grade, but I'm a firm believer in using what's in your hand. Use the tools that are available to you to make a measurable impact. Again, regardless of your title. I could have said, hey, I'm just a scrum master. Hey, I'm just a project lead. Hey, this is just how they do things here. But I took it upon myself to really figure out how I could view the needs of my team, view the needs of my organization, view the needs of my customer, and figure out how we can meet in the middle. Okay. So if I had to pull out three keys from that, understand your organization's strategic goals and vision. Okay. For my company, it's going to always be cost savings, process efficiencies, creating capacity. Okay. It's going to always point back to that. All right. Be intentional and proactive about your visibility. So the part I didn't tell about is all of the conversations that I had with not only my manager to show him different ways that I was going above and beyond, but to also make sure our product manager and portfolio lead knew the type of impact that I was having on the team. Okay. And lastly, prioritize stakeholder alignment and engagement. This is just not just your external stakeholders, this is your internal stakeholders. Okay. Position yourself as a go-to resource. All right. So earlier in this conversation, I talked about me doing gig consulting on top of my role. All right. That's because I'm positioned as a go-to resource. Okay. My manager knows what problems I solve because I make them known. Okay. All right. I've shared a lot. Do me a favor and pop in the chat one word that describes how the information has impacted you so far in this presentation. Just one word. One word in response to what's been shared so far. Okay. All right. So you're still here with me. All right. So Rich, I want to ask you, are there any questions that I need to pause and take right now? How long after your Gimbal walk did you see these results? And how long after did your team see the results? So I would say concerning team health, like how the team was feeling, I noticed almost immediate improvement in the psychological safety of my team, almost immediately. They felt heard because, again, the plant tour was in response to something concerns that they raised during the retro. They felt aligned. They felt more motivated to innovate. So that was almost immediate, and you could hear it in their updates and how they chose their work to work on. As far as seeing results in regards to metrics, that took a couple cycles to see those metrics start, flowing in. And they weren't perfect, but they showed improvement, and they continued to show improvement all the way until we sent that product to production. So Gimbal walks, look them up and see if they make sense in your environment. You don't have to hold a title to do a Gimbal walk. It's really about what is the work that I do in my cubicle, if those still exist, that impacts our customer. Okay. How does the work that we do impact our customer? And you can do your own personal gimbal walk. It doesn't have to be formal. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question. All right. I don't think we're doing too bad on time. So, all right. So I always say that strategic positioning gets you a seat at the table. Okay. But you don't just get to stay at the table and eat without adapting. Okay. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Strategic positioning, all that stuff we talked about, those 3 keys to strategic positioning, that will get you a seat at the table. Okay. But no one is exempt from needing to adapt to fit the environmental circumstances in front of them. Okay. All right. Especially in these uncertain times. All right. So I want to share with you one of my favorite acronyms. I have acronyms for everything, and it's called OMG. Okay. So let's talk about OMG, right? Of adaptive leadership. Okay. Hopefully you guys are taking notes. The O stands for getting organized and then organizing others, organizing the effort. Okay. You have to understand what the effort is, right? Remember, we talked about it earlier. What's that problem statement? Okay. But what you're going to want to do is understand the problem, okay? And then as much as is within your control or your influence, you take charge of structuring the response to challenges. Again, we're talking about adaptive leaders and leadership. Clearly define the priorities. Make sure the resources that are going to help steward a solution to the problem, make sure they are aligned. Make sure they are rallied toward a collective action. Identify any areas of confusion and create clarity. Your goal is to make things less chaotic. Ensure the team operates efficiently and ensure that everyone understands the path forward. Okay. Without structure, it will just be wasted effort. I don't know who's here, so I'll tread carefully, but I've definitely been on a team before where we had a ton of people, and a lot of them were leaders above my, and it was just chaotic. It's not that we didn't all have an idea of the goal in mind, but we were dealing in uncertain times. We had a ton of external dependencies, and we couldn't tell who the leader was. Okay. If you're the leader in that environment, I need you to determine what it's going to take to help you to be a little more adaptive. Okay. So the O stands for organize the effort. Okay. Adjust things head on. Don't be passive. Whatever you can do, help the effort. Okay. So again, we talked about, does your title matter? No. Let me give you an example. Okay. Some of us don't have as much authority as others. So I gave you a couple options. Okay. I've noticed some overlap in tasks and potential gaps in timelines. Is it possible for us to set up a quick 15-minute chat to clarify responsibilities and align on priorities? I'm even happy to draft a shared checklist so we can, keep in touch and keep each other accountable. Okay. That's someone with a little less authority. If you have a little more authority, which a lot of us as project leads do, we outline the top 3 priorities for the team during chaotic periods, and we communicate these every chance we get to make sure there's focus and alignment. Okay. Again, we're still talking about adaptive leadership. Okay. You got to be organized. All right. All right. The M, remember we're spelling OMG. We want you to maximize momentum, which simply means to take initiative, identifying bottlenecks or stalled areas. We covered in the organization of the effort that you have to know what the problem is before you can organize it. And then you also have to take a step back and say, are there any detractors of our success? Are there any enemies of progress? Okay. What you identify that's going good, we want you to double down on that and go full steam ahead. All right. So create energy and urgency, break down big challenges into actionable steps, propose specific actions to move the needle, keep the team energized and focused by celebrating small wins. I will be honest. I used to struggle with that because I thought it was corny, but I'm trying to tell you, your team, they need to hear from you that you see them. Okay. You should never go a full cycle, which I don't know what a cycle means for you, but I'll call mine a sprint. You should never go a full cycle without your team or without acknowledging the successes of your team. Okay. And ensure that progress remains visible and achievable. Okay. The team needs to see their success charted. Okay. In order to maximize momentum. All right. Momentum keeps the team motivated and prevents stagnation during transition. It creates a sense of progress even in uncertainty. Okay. One thing I love to do is use ChatGPT. It's one of my favorite tools. And without putting any personal information or proprietary information or confidential information, I had to like cover all of those in the ChatGPT. I'll let them know, hey, my team is dealing with this. Here's the issue. Here's the circumstance. My goal is to help them maximize momentum, for an example. Okay. Give me a list, give me an idea for a retrospective canvas that will help me accomplish that. So ChatGPT might tell me, use these powerful questions for your canvas, for your whiteboard. Okay. That's been a game changer. Because now I have some additional questions and it's going to unlock some things that, oh, and my favorite thing to do is say, I don't want anything that is common or basic. I want you to help me create an experience that feels almost illegal to be a part of, right? So it helps ChatGPT dig really, really deep and give me some good ideas. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. So let me give you an example of some wording, okay? All right, if you're just a teammate, okay, not just a teammate, but if you're a teammate, someone with a little less authority, if a deliverable is delayed, you could say something like, I noticed that X task is dependent on Y decision. Let's get together to finalize the parts we can control so we're ready when that piece comes through. Okay. The main point is whatever will keep the team moving forward, I just want you to help steward that. I don't care what your title is. You can help maximize momentum, whether you have the formal title as a project lead or you're an associate, a coordinator, whatever it's going to take to help keep the team moving forward, you can be a steward of that. Okay. If you have a little more authority, you simply just start every meeting by highlighting progress, no matter how small. Okay. And like we said before, make sure the wins are visible. Okay. Make sure the team can see that they're actually charting towards success. We've completed 20% of the milestones, and the next step will get us up to 50%. That's way they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Teams love to hear how far they've come. Okay. All right. So we got the O, we got the M. Now let's get to the G. Okay. And I lost my timer here. All right. G, lead with grace. Okay. I'm going to put some cautions in here in just a minute. Okay. Of what grace is not. Okay. Grace is simply staying composed under pressure. That's not just a poker face. That's not just choosing the right words, but you're also settled that you're the right person for the job and that you will treat others with respect, even in challenging moments. You will extend understanding without sacrificing accountability. You will create an environment where teams feel valued and empowered. Okay. You're going to focus on behaviors and outcomes without attacking individuals. Okay. So you're going to pull in data to talk to your people. Okay. But even in presenting data, there's a way to do it gracefully. And then you're going to avoid reactive responses where you just have taken no thought and you just like boom, 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 spitfire, and you're just tearing. You guys ever seen that SpongeBob episode where the butterfly was going through and just putting everything on fire? That's not going to be you. Okay. An adaptive leader knows how to lead with grace. Okay. All right. So there's trust built in there. There's empathy built in there. The last thing you want to do is cultivate an environment where people are fearful. They feel resentful and disengaged. Okay. All right. All right. So what does that look like with some examples? And we're almost finished. So hopefully this is going great for you guys. Okay. Less authority. I noticed that this task has been stalled. I'm going to be honest. This wording is not what you're going to use. You need to make it your own. Okay. I noticed that this task has been stalled. Is there something I can take on or clarify to help us move it forward? Let's figure out the next steps together. What is that? Collaboration, and keep things progressing. Okay. If you have more authority, I understand this delay has been challenging. Let's focus on understanding what caused it so we can adjust our approach and meet our next goals effectively. This is a little more direct, so still be careful. I'll work with you to make sure we have what we need to succeed. All right. This is littered with a little bit of micromanagement. So I'm just telling you to just be careful on that one. Okay. But the main thing I want you to focus on when it comes to leading with grace is to emphasize solutions over blame. Okay. How can you partner? Partner. Okay. All right. So let's go through these real quick, because you could be saying, okay, Amber, that just sounds like leadership. And on the surface, it does just sound like leadership. But let me give you the difference between traditional and adaptive. Okay. In terms of collaboration, traditional leaders engage stakeholders very selectively, and they often rely on the what they say, the good old boys club, that small members only. Okay. Whereas with adaptive leadership, we actively involve diverse stakeholders. We co-create solutions. We make sure more than just that little group is heard. Okay. Another key difference: team health. In traditional leadership, emotional impacts are often overlooked, and the focus is on task, and efficiency is prioritized over well-being. In adaptive leadership, we prioritize emotional safety, understanding how change affects individuals, and we create trust. In terms of empowerment, in traditional leadership, it's a little more directing. That's why I said be careful on that grace example. It's a little more directing, and we're delegating tasks, and we're keeping authority centralized, right? With adaptive, if anybody is agilist on here, you know that self-organizing and self-managing, those are like two, big phrases that we use. But in adaptive leadership, we develop others' capacity to lead and adapt, and we create distributed leadership and resilience. Okay. All right. So, what are the prerequisites for adaptive leadership? What are the prerequisites for you to be successful at anything I've shared so far? Okay. And the answer, very simple, is a high performance mindset. No leader can effectively adapt without first cultivating a high performance mindset within themselves. Okay. All right. So here's the part where we go through the key habits and leadership behaviors. And these are right from my toolkit. And again, you will get this presentation. So I'm just going to rattle them off just so we keep our time box tidy. And then we'll have some Q&A. Okay. All right. This is my favorite. My students know, they know I was going to have this one in here. Okay. Do good work. Okay. I don't care how beautiful your resume is. Can you actually do good work? Okay. Demonstrate your impact and your expertise. Don't just show up to get paid. All right. Eliminate the waste in your workflow. Okay. If we were honest, it doesn't take any of us 40 hours to do our work. It just doesn't. Okay. What are those wasteful behaviors and habits that you can eliminate? And you might even be distributing them, right? But I want you to ask yourself this question. If I stopped doing this, would anyone notice or care in a month? And if the answer is no, you might want to consider stop doing that, because it's not necessarily driving any additional value or impact. Okay. Don't default to busy work to look or feel productive. Okay. Don't do it. Okay. I want you to resist the urge to be basic. Okay. So if you're with me, type resist in the chat. Resist the urge to be basic. Resist, 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 resist. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. All right. So after you're doing good work, I want you to be seen doing good work. Okay. If no one sees your contributions, they don't exist. They don't exist. Your work should create more opportunity for you. So make sure the right people know about your impact and your contributions. Take as much time showcasing what you've done as the same amount of time you spent it, okay? If not more, okay? Position yourself as a pillar of reliability and innovation, okay? Which means you're going to have to be a person of your word, okay? Don't say you're going to do something, don't do it, okay? We want you to be the go-to, okay? And I want you to understand, visibility is not bragging. Say it with me. Visibility is not bragging. Visibility is not bragging. Okay. Matter of fact, I would not be sitting in this chair before you now had I had the idea that visibility was bragging. Okay. I'm here sharing with you because I understand that I need to be seen doing good work in order to open up opportunity for myself. Okay. This is probably my favorite one. This is probably my favorite one. This right here, this one right here. Okay. Take a picture. Matter of fact, take a picture of yourself reading this one because this one will take you places. This one right here. Activate the magic words I recommend. I want you to operate like a consultant, regardless of your title. But do not forget that it don't be random, right? We talked about strategic positioning earlier, and I already told you, you need to care about the things that your manager's manager cares about, your organization cares about, and your customer cares about, okay? So I don't want you to be random. Don't you say I told you that, okay? But I need you to start making recommendations from a consultant standpoint. And how do you do that? You have to be observant. You have to show up and think beyond your job description and be seen as a strategic partner. You need to see yourself as more than just the employee. You provide solutions. You have valuable contributions. Okay. All right. Just a couple more. Okay. I want you to prioritize balance. Oh my gosh. I'm literally preaching to the choir. I got some nerve putting this slide in here. I have some nerve putting this slide in here because in the fall, well, it's still the fall, but back in August, I had 6 different JIRA boards I was managing with 6 different teams. Okay. What they say, I boss, what is the saying they say on TikTok? I girl bossed a little too hard, a little too close to the sun. I definitely did. Okay. And I had 6 teams. Okay. I've now reduced it to like 3.5. All right. But I really want you guys to prioritize balance. Burnout is not the goal. Rest is not an indulgence, it's part of the strategy. We love quick wins, but you have to pace yourself. Okay. The goal is long-term success. Okay. Not like these short bouts of heroism. Okay. All right. Last one. Design norms that enable your success. Okay. My students know I have a whole list of acronyms and frameworks and methodologies, and all of these are pulled from my day-to-day on how I function. I know The people on this call, there are a lot of high performers on this call, okay? And I want you to just think about it. You all have some ways of working that have contributed to you being a high performer, okay? I'm going to challenge you. This is your homework. I'm going to challenge you to name some of those things, okay? Write them out. When I'm doing my problem solving process is this. My approach when I'm performing a brand new task is this. My approach when I'm activating a brand new team is this, okay? And I want you to start like putting some structure to your frameworks, okay? All right. If you don't have those, then your homework is a little different. I want you to figure out a way of working that will help you to be even more successful. Okay. So establish routines and frameworks that create stability for you. Again, we're talking about thriving in uncertain times. Okay. Decide on your non-negotiable habits. Project calm and control even when it's chaotic. Okay. All right. And after you do your homework, I want you to then build a persona around these new norms for you. Okay. All right. So for an example, I'm seen as a person of her word at work. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. One thing that helps me is if I have an action item that, spawns from a meeting, if it takes me less than 3 minutes, I'm going to knock it out immediately. Okay. If I have 3 minutes, right? So by the next time somebody looks at their computer or whatever, oh, they already have a response from Amber. She's on it, right? She looks in control. She looks organized. Okay. All right. So design norms that enable your success. All right. We've covered a ton. We've covered a ton. So let's recap really quickly. Okay. Again, today was not meant to be a training. It was meant to provoke some thought and to hopefully get you a couple levels, to aspire to be a couple levels higher than what you started out when we did our survey. Okay. All right. So we discussed strategic positioning. Without aligning your work to what matters most, your contributions may go unnoticed, leaving you undervalued, overlooked, unfulfilled, mad, chip on your shoulder. Okay. So positioning yourself strategically, becoming a partner to your organization is a lot more important than we think. Okay. Adaptive leadership. Without clear direction, steady progress and teamwork will get stuck. Your morale will drop and the trust in your leadership ability will fade. And lastly, high performance mindset. Without focusing on outcomes, managing your energy, and proving your value, you will risk being seen as a replaceable. You will be seen as replaceable and lose your relevance. Okay. So hopefully this was helpful to you. I want to invite you to connect with me across socials. I am Evolved with Amber on Instagram and TikTok. I spend a lot of time there. I am Amber Footman Chandler on LinkedIn. I'm challenging you to continue learning with or without me. But if you need additional resources, you can find me at sopevolution.com.
Amber, thank you. Fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
We would like to express our appreciation in a very modest form as well. So we have worked up the certificate of appreciation for you. It is signed by Galen Hill, the president and CEO, as of, well, until that change happens that you heard about a little bit earlier. Will you hang around? And we did say we would deal with some questions that the audience has. Can you come back after this little podcast thing that we do and answer some questions for the audience?
Absolutely. Let me refresh my tea.
Okay, go ahead. That'll be great. Why don't you go ahead and do that? Take care of that. And in the meantime, gang, we have, and now this. All righty, get my podcast microphone here going here. And as you know, it's time for Volunteer of the Month. Uh, and today, Volunteer of the Month, great friend and colleague of mine in PMI, and you'll have seen his face before in all likelihood as an alternate MC at times. Welcome, Mark Pendergast. It's great to have you as this month's Volunteer of the Month.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Rich, in a different position. But actually, it's kind of odd. This is my first fully virtual meeting. I've never been to one before.
Well, how's it been going for you so far?
Good, good. I was surprised how easy everything was.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Mark, let's get on with the volunteer questions I have for you. When did you first become a member of PMI in general?
That was 20 years ago in August.
Oh, we saw your name up on one of those recognition lists, but I
Yeah.
think you missed that meeting. And how long have you? When is it you start to volunteer for PMI?
Well, actually, I started volunteering back in the 2008, I think, type time frame. I spoke at PDD 9 times. I volunteered with the IT group back in that time frame, and then life got busy. My work got busy, of course, so I kind of dropped out of volunteering for a while. But then I came back a year ago and picked up where I left off. I had retired. I was looking for meaning in my life. PMI seemed to be aligned with what my values were, so I came back and started volunteering on the IT committee again because that's what I'm good at. And stepped up. I had fond memories of PDD, so I stepped up to be the director of PDD, which we ran this year pretty successfully, actually. And then I'm talking about maybe even taking on more responsibility in the future. So it's an exciting time for me.
So how is it that you found this alignment of values? Say if you will, can you say a little bit more about that?
Well, I've been a lifelong volunteer, and one of the things that really turns me on is making people stronger, making people more capable than they were. And I've done it with kids. I was a t-ball coach, soccer coach, robotics coach. But it's fun to work with kids, but you can't have deep conversations with them. So I think I tend to gravitate towards professional organizations. I've been involved in some of my industry stuff, and PMI is kind of that generic, just skill set one that's not really industry specific. And I enjoy working with people, mentoring them, helping people get stronger in their careers, in their personal lives. I tell people your life is a project, and all the skills apply, right? And if you really understand how to manage scope and timing and budget and risk, you're going to have a great life. So I think that's really what resonates with me is the skills we talk about in the Project Management Institute are so universally applicable that it's just fun to talk about them. And there's really no bottom to it either, right? I mean, everything's shades of gray, everything's situational, and it's just getting that, okay, I got this. And I think we heard that from the speaker, right? You got to be adaptive. You can't just take the PMBOK as a Bible, right? It's a toolbox. And you've got to understand your stakeholders, whether that's your CEO or your wife or your kids, and try and make the best of the situation you're in. And I think that's something. If I've got one knock on PMI, is they have a tendency to think there's one way of doing things, and I think those of us from the adaptive world have learned, yeah, everything applies at some point, but nothing applies all the time, and it's a matter of understanding. Again, how can you bring value both to your business, to your employees, to your coworkers, to everybody that you're involved with, and honing those skills to the point where it's just second nature. And early in my career I was learning. Later in my
Mhm.
career I'm kind of giving back and trying to help people not. Yeah, in fact, I wrote a blog the other day where I said, you get wisdom by making mistakes. Boy, have I got a lot of wisdom.
Tremendous. Well, Mark, thank you so much. So happy that you managed to not only volunteer earlier on, but come back to it
Mhm.
when you found more time and found that reward, to be with here. And we're all better as a chapter together when we have energetic people like you that support the causes and find that alignment, help enable others. Thank you very much, Mark, for all your volunteering that you do and helping that Andy. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And now back
All
to the
righty.
show.
And now let's see if we can bring Amber Chandler back to the stage, so to speak. Imagine us in two easy chairs next to each other. I also did promise here, let's see, the PDU code. Once I get to the right presentation here. And the slide I wanted to show is here. There we go. And Amber, can we bring you back on? There you are on video. And let's take some questions here. All righty, ma'am. Hey, the gang, appreciate it. Let me get them to the questions here. Okay. We have another one. Okay, we have the PDU question I just answered up here. But let's go ahead with this question from Christopher Wilson again. Are there some people or personalities that can't learn or master what you've covered?
Interesting. Would you believe that I used to be an introvert? I'm still an introvert to a certain point. I was an introvert, absolutely terrified of conflict, terrified of public speaking, all of that. My mom is on the line, and she said something to me back when I think I was maybe like 22, 23. And I was early in my career, and I was having a challenge at work, and I was just kind of just brushing it off and being very passive, not passive aggressive, but just kind of just letting stuff happen to me. And she was reading a book at the time, maybe a couple books. And one thing I remember her saying is, Amber, you'll never get the corner office if you don't deal with things head on. That was one thing she said.
Uh-huh.
And then she had some quotes from Who Moved My Cheese. Okay.
Oh,
So the person
okay.
that you see in front of you tonight is someone who has evolved. I don't get everything right, but I practice. I'm not scared to practice. My entire 30s and 40s has been nothing but experimenting. Okay. If I have any agilists in the room, we know that empiricism, we live by it. We learn by doing. Okay. So, are there some personalities that can't master this? I would reframe that and say there are some personalities that will probably find this a little more challenging than others. But I don't think, did I hyperventilate tonight? Did you guys catch that? Yeah.
There was a lot of energy going on.
Yeah. I kid
A
you
lot of
not.
passion is what I'm seeing in the chat. A lot of passion happening.
Yeah. I used to have to go through a whole ritual to calm myself for interactions. Okay. I would have to take 5 minutes in advance of me raising my hand in meetings to do deep breathing. Okay. This is something that could be cultivated, right? You don't get to a certain place overnight without practice. So that would be my answer. Yes, it can be challenging, but just start where you are and just start experimenting. Okay.
All righty. Question from Mark. Now that you just met. Do you have any tips for not being too braggy? How do you message effectively? How do you be seen without making a point of being seen, I guess? What do you think?
Well, do you have some tips for not being too braggy? Well, so I mean, you can always like pull collaborative verbiage into your conversation. I'll share something with you. There was, I won't tell you the timestamps because some of you know me too well, and you'll be able to trace back exactly what job I worked out, and I don't want that because some of you are on the line. But I went to my director. She was someone I reported to at the time, and I was feeling a little bit of I think they call it survivor's remorse. Okay, because they were always pulling my slick sheet to do new projects. There were people on the bench waiting for projects, and they would have me double dutying and rolling from project to project while some people sat on the bench. And I was feeling like, oh, nobody's gonna like me. And my director said something to me extremely profound. She said, Amber, I've given those individuals the same information, the same charge, and the same opportunities that I've given you. You took advantage of it. You saw it as an opportunity. You maintained a growth mindset and you took action. You made it your own. You were a self-starter with the direction I gave you. And she said, don't you dare, I just said she, don't you dare detract or slow down your momentum to stay on par with those who are not seeking to do more. Okay. All right. So that is a long way of saying you can't help how others view you. Okay. If you approach your professionalism with a authentic and genuine intent, you're not meaning to do anybody wrong or step over anybody to get where you're going. Okay. What's for you is for you. Okay. If it is a team effort, you need to acknowledge your team. If it's a you effort, you need to acknowledge yourself. It's okay, right? But no man is an island. No man stands alone. So it should never indefinitely be I. There should be some we that happens sometimes. And if you can acknowledge the we, you're fine. So hopefully that answers your question.
We got a couple questions from Amber. I'm going to start with the second one here, first of all. And I think this maybe touches on the work with the small wins that you recommended there, that I find difficult to try to get that, because one always works on the gap, I think, or at least, the focus on the shortcomings, not on the little accomplishments. Amber or Warner's question here, then, how do you balance that encouraging versus understanding the disappointment of perhaps falling short?
So, speaking, coming from someone who used to just tie emotions into everything, all right? I used to lead by emotions, and the team feels like, and I feel like, and there was so much feeling language in that. And it's not that feelings don't belong in the workplace, but feelings will not keep you employed. Okay. Versus understanding the disappointment. So we feel the feels, but I try to pull data in as much as possible. What is the impact here? What is our opportunity to improve that's within our influence and our control? So it's not that we don't acknowledge feelings, but feelings don't make companies money. They don't keep you employed. You can't, a lot of us are consultants. You can't bill for feeling time. Okay. You build for the amount of time that you are helping your team move forward towards a goal. Okay. So I don't even know that I'm answering that question with justice. How do you balance encouraging versus understanding the disappointment? It's a collaborative discussion. Let's look at the data. Let's look at the impact. What is this what is this preventing as it pertains to our success? And if we solve this problem, what will it enable for us in the future? All right. So the biggest part is just figure out ways to keep the team engaged.
Amber's preview question is this one here, asking about how to ideas to motivate a team that was feeling discouraged because of a big change in their roles. Oh, and she also compliments you.
Thank you. How would you motivate a team that's feeling discouraged, big change in their roles? Okay, so those who know me, you know what? For the sake of time, I won't have you type it in the chat. But those who know me know I do not care about. I don't care about titles. I don't care about roles. I don't just show up to work to get a paycheck. But had I not been open to changes that have happened in my career, I would not be sitting before you. Change helps to stretch you. It helps to grow you. It helps to even scale you. So the question is, how do you balance and no, what was the question?
How do you motivate the team that feels discouraged? Whoops, wrong QA. There we go.
About a big change in their role. How do you motivate a team that was feeling discouraged about a big change in their role? As much as possible, show them what is now possible, right? Yeah, I don't have a perfect answer for that because it really depends on, let's say, if they're moving away from, I don't know, maybe they're, I don't know, developers, and now they have to be data entry clerks. I would tell them, go polish up your resume and get out of here, right? If it's just a slight tweak, you know, business decisions are not personal. So I don't know. It really, I guess it depends on what it is. I would just try to help them see the silver lining and the opportunity in it. That's a very cliche answer, but that's a very broad question. So.
Amber, I know, working with you in preparation for this, I know that your presentation actually had a lot more content on it. You worked to lean it out, which was interesting. Use the term as well. However, there's so much that's packed in here. If anyone of our audience, including myself, wanted to learn more, think more, consume more information in this, are there books, articles, podcasts, blogs that you would recommend out of curiosity? Have you written? Yeah. Do you have a book out yet?
Do I need to write a book, Rich?
Do you need to write a book?
Do I need to write a book? Let me see. So I'll be real honest. I probably read more like personal development than I do like specific about project management. Because to be an effective project leader, you really have to resolve a lot within yourself, right? So even this question from Amber, how would you motivate a team that was feeling discouraged about a big change in their roles, right? You pull as a leader, you pull from what you know first, right? Like you pull from what's innate to you. How would you like someone to deal with you, right? So a lot of what I pull from is personal development, how to think, how to learn, those types of books. Improv. I took a few improv classes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We had an improv speaker about a year and a half ago.
Yes. If you guys have not taken improv, I don't care what your title is. That's my favorite thing to say. I don't care what your title is. If you have not taken an improv class, I challenge you to take at least 2 in the new year, so you can cultivate a less combative mindset and disposition. Okay. Yes. And will help you to adjust in all circumstances. Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Hey, let's take a final question. We'll let Srini bring us home. With are there some of the habits you talk about that are non-negotiable?
Yes. I do not fake busy work. I do not fake busy work. So some non-negotiable habits are for me to take care of the stuff that is visible to others and that they are waiting on. Actually, I'll say that before that. If somebody is waiting on something for me or they come looking for something from me, it's already too late. That's a non-negotiable. I want to have things available and ready before people come looking for it. If I know I'm accountable for it, that is a non-negotiable habit. Is don't be that person where people gotta come hunt you down for deliverables. Okay. If you're asking me for a favor, that's different. But you will not be hunting me down for a status report or to do whatever it is. It's just not going to happen. So that is a non-negotiable for me.
Amber Chandler, what a joy having you with us tonight. Thank you again so much on behalf of the chapter and our full audience here. Thank you to all the volunteers who helped pull this together, all you PMI volunteers that had a little part to play in bringing the whole thing together. We hope that this was a worthwhile investment of the hour and a half here that we spent together. Amber, I would like to ask you if you can hang around. We perform a retro shortly after this. This is the opportunity to get some perspectives from you as a speaker viewpoint. While in the meantime, I asked John Fitzpatrick, our head of technology for this event, to figure out a way to close the virtual doors of the meeting room. And everybody, good night. Be safe. Be good. Say good night to your families for us.
Good night.
We'll just linger until we figure out how to go.